This is an animated supplement for Chapter 8, The Federal Defeat on Seminary Ridge, from the book Our Fathers at Gettysburg by Jack Kunkel. In the brutal fighting south of Chambersburg Pike, Confederate Heath's division had driven back the Yankees to Seminary Ridge, but Heath's division was nearly destroyed itself in the process, and his exhausted men could go no farther. The Federals, with their backs to the seminary, and behind that, Gettysburg, were also battered and exhausted, but they were supported by a formidable array of artillery. The Confederate attack was now taken up by Pender's division, and he would lead the attack with 3 brigades, Scales on the left, Perrin's in the middle, and Lane's on the right. Now Pender's 3 brigades advanced. Lane's brigade on the right, like Fry's brigade earlier in the day, became distracted by Federal cavalry skirmishers south of Fairfield Road, and like Fry had done, Lane focused almost completely on the cavalry, instead of the Federals on Seminary Ridge, and his unit was of little help in the attack. On the north side of the line, Scales' men ran into devastating artillery fire along Chambersburg Pike, and his units, especially those on the road, were cut to pieces. Scales himself was wounded, as were most of the officers, and the brigade had no choice but to go to ground, and was out of the fight. That left only Perrin's South Carolina brigade to drive home the attack. Initially, as Perrin's brigade advanced across the center of the battlefield, he was fortunate that most of the Federal artillery was focused on Scales, at least for a period of time. As his brigade neared the Federal line, Perrin noticed there seemed to be a gap on the south side of that line, near Fairfield Road, where the Federal infantry line connected with the Federal cavalry. He shifted his attack toward that gap, and 2 of his regiments, the 1st and 14th South Carolina, broke through that gap, while the other 2 regiments dealt with the Federal cavalry. Once inside the Federal left flank, it was just a matter of rolling up the entire Federal defensive line. The Federal defense soon cracked, with the survivors now retreating back through Gettysburg, along with their comrades north of Chambersburg Pike, and along with the Federal 11th Corps, which at the same time had been defeated north of Gettysburg. Though it had taken several hours and many casualties, the Confederates had finally driven the Yankees from the west side of Gettysburg. For much more on this battle, including descriptions by the soldiers involved, as well as photos, illustrations, and Google links to the actual battlefield locations, please refer to this book.